Just let me get this white by law pulled up first.
Absolutely, my brother.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seed sowing, harvest reaping, man reaping. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing. To quit, I have no reason. I'm asleep, but I be trying to live my dream. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't really. It ain't no in between, baby. You can ask the sun, it's an everyday theme. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality.
Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece.
Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not who Rama be.
MyPDFBooks.com. That's books with a Z.
Check out Moresachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Pros. Companies are powered by ALO Design Pros. Design your online business strategy today. And without further ado, we introduce to you Sheik Kari Goodman Bay.
Peace, 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 peace. Family, how y'all doing today?
Excellent. Peace.
I know everybody having a good gratitude. It's a beautiful day. Always a beautiful day to be in the land of the living. But without further ado, before we get to this demonstration, can we get our Moorish American prayer? I would be remiss if I didn't do that.
Absolutely. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation by night, by day. Through the prophet, Ali, and our change along our king, our Islamism. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace, peace, peace. If you don't know how to BBT believe, I challenge you to purchase some of our literature from our company, mypdfbooks.com, that's books with the Z, and purchase some of my literature. And I break down how to BBT believe and how, what this science is about. We don't come from any biasness. We're under the triple rose. So if you've been following me and you may be concerned or you just may want to say something, please keep those comments for yourself. That's off topic. Because if you were following and if you were a student of learning, you know that this is a safe place and what we promulgate and what we teach here at the BBT. So with that being said, gratitude, Noble Malik, for giving that. But we all know I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit today and just talk about some, a little bit of current events and just about knowing who we are. The presidency went on this weekend, and a lot of times we talk about things we may not know. I know a lot of misnomer blacks, they be emotionally attached to things. They try to put everybody in a box because a lot of times we don't know words. But the whole thing boiled down to we don't know who we are. Especially when misnomer black people will say, we black, we Democrats. And then you ask them what's the Democratic, what's the plan? What's the agenda? And they don't have one. And then you hear misnomer black brothers that's so gung-ho about women that they dislike women so much that they say that's why the world is so messed up, because of women in power, and they'll vote for somebody that may have, have different beliefs than you, and you'll vote for them just because. And I say this to all my misnomer Asiatic brothers. That type of statement to say clearly means that you don't really know your history or history in general, especially your history when we make those statements. Also, it's women in rulership in all parts of the world if we research. But our history, we always had women in powerful positions. That's what the Catholic Church took out scriptures and ancient science about the Sibyls. In your biblical scripture, wisdom is relayed to Sophia. And so some of the things that we have to do as a people is not let us, a lot of ignorant men and women, play that role that we against each other. That's what I always want to say. In moral science, the man and a woman sits on a throne and together and have the child. That's really the form of immaculate conception or Trinity. When man and woman come together, create child, and that's what it is in our culture. In moral science, the woman sits on the throne with the king. It's no separation. It's no separation in this. We're not playing, even in the biblical scriptures, who had the money? The women. Why? Because the Negroes would go to the strip club and drink it all up. The women carried the bag. And so I want us to have a clear understanding. And then also, let's just be honest. A lot of men probably never even seen a real man lead in their history. A lot of men been raised by their mom, stay at their mom's house, living with a woman and not doing nothing. A lot of men in their family was junkies, so they ever saw the woman leading. They never seen a man in a lead position. All they may see a man do is go to work, and come home and not know how to count the money and do the checkbook. And the woman know how to do that. Why? Because she has a little wisdom, a little brains. So that show you that the woman in history a lot, not always, was the backbone of the family a lot. How? Because they're the ones that handle the money. Do you understand what I'm saying in this concept, y'all?
Yes, sir. Right to it.
Think about this. We having a real conversation today. And so it's not about a political party. It's about who we are as a people. And that's the thing, excuse me, that misnomer black people cannot agree to. You will see those that just read the biblical scripture that's gun-ho and say, historically, we Hebrew Israelites. And I understand that biblically to a certain context, but we're talking about today, in today's world. We get that on paper. We have to agree to some things. We have to agree to some commonalities, to some common law. And that's why I tell people, misnomer black people will never get reparations or anything or repair themselves back to original status, because we as a people can't walk out the house in synchronicity. Religion and politics divide us. Look how much politics has divided us in these last couple of weeks, nobles. Do anybody want to say something about that? Have y'all seen that?
Most definitely. In conversation, not in action. People haven't done anything, too treacherous to each other. But as far as conversation and as far as energetically, people be kind of, creating opposition between one another just off the conversation or picking a side in politics. So most definitely.
So when I talk to misnomer black people, and everybody can add on to this, when they talk about, what we going to get, that sounds like some slave stuff. I tell misnomer black people the only thing you're going to get is welfare, Section 8, some government Obama phones. You know what I mean? You don't want an equal playing field. You don't want the same thing to you educated and have the same advances as everyone in life. We want some welfare or some cheap housing, and that's not restoration. Pulling yourself up by your bootstraps is understanding who you are culturally, doing things as a culture first. Having that right, not wanting the government to be involved in everything, because when the government is involved, it's your daddy. Let me give you an analogy. Somebody wanted to say something?
I was agreeing.
We never had a problem with our empresses having a position in our culture. But when we involve the government, under the government, you're a willing obligor when you get welfare, when you get cheap housing. It's contingent on you doing this and doing that. And then you want to say, well, I don't have to do this, but you signed a contract. This is what I'm talking about as a culture of people. When we vote and when we argue about presidency, when misnomer black man talk about, when Obama was in office, we was getting money. And I asked every misnomer black man that said that on my page, even friends that I know that's from the hood, that's illiterate, that's street people, and I'm not talking about nobody specific, but if the shoe fit, rock it. What did Trump do for you when you was in office to say that you got more money? misnomer black man? What were you doing and today that you're making less? What were you doing? Because if you was getting some more money on your job when Trump was in office, you getting the same money. So I asked misnomer black man, what were you doing when Trump was in office that you were getting way more money than you doing now? And please don't talk about no PPP loan that you committed a fraud. And please don't talk about no punk a whoop-de-whoop $2,000 stimulus check. Because you know why, Brian? You know what that'll tell you? You know what that'll tell you, Brian?
That Trump just got a decent signature.
That too. But a Negro can be bought for some change.
Oh, most definitely. That supersedes what I just said.
That a Negro can be bought, that a Negro will break crime and not only break the law, but show other people commit the law and show them that. And none of their business was affected. None of their ministries was affected. But look at all the misnumbered black people like, I'm finna get a PPP loan. What you committed fraud. So if you didn't have a real business and your business wasn't affected and your ministry wasn't affected, I'm asking everyone on here, was you getting more money when Trump was in office? Yes or no?
No.
Were you getting more money when Obama was in office? Yes or no? No.
No.
All right then. So that clearly tell you that it don't make no damn difference if we talking about that. So when misnomer black people, men that have no businesses, that just get their information off the internet and Google, make the statement that say when Donald Trump was in office, they were getting more money. And I say, how?
I don't think nobody can really answer that. It just sounds good when you having barbershop talk.
See, these are the conversations that we should be having when we make these decisions. When you can cast your vote, how? As an American. Understanding your rights, not after the fact. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, that's the problem. We going into things, Noble Brian, not knowing. And then after the fact, we've got 14 million questions after you done effed up.
Yep. The only thing that's gonna cost you is, you know what I'm saying, lack of knowledge or just being, lack of better words, dumb.
These are the things that we have to talk about. Because on the flip side, when people say, well, why are you so hard on, I'm not hard on no one. What my whole thing is about us as a people understanding who we are. Once you understand who you are, then we can move on to this political level. But when you got a group of people and a group of people don't know who they are, they're going to be split. Why? Because some people are going to say they Democrat, some people are going to say they Republican, some people are going to say they African American, some people are going to say they black, that's why we Democrat, some people are going to say they black Christians, some people are going to say they black Muslims, black Hebrew Israelites. All that misunderstanding results into these type of things. Y'all with me?
Most definitely. That's like, that all of those things are keeping you behind the starting line, opposed to letting you advance past the starting line. You can't even pass go until you get the basic thing down.
Thank you. These are the conversations when we don't have and we don't ask why. Like when we just go do things with other, and then why? Well, don't ask me why. Well, that means you don't know why you done things. It's always who, what, where, and why. We should be able to answer all those when we making important decisions. And that's the aspect when I say when you making a decision like this, Nobles, you should know everything about what's going on. And if you don't, it's a disservice. It's a disservice. Because I asked my misnomer blacks that was Democrats. I said, what's the misnomer black agenda for some misnomer black Democrats? What is the misnomer black agenda? What do you think of any president, anybody in the power can do for misnomer black people that don't have no rights? That the Dred Scott was never abolished? That according to science and law, black means silver mortis? What do you think that any politician, president can do for black people? What do you think?
Ain't nothing for a dead man.
What you say, Dre Sean?
I say you can't do nothing for a dead man.
Now, Dre Sean, is this conversation hate talk? You got a beautiful blended family. These are things that you should know, as we should know, as we talking about a people, so we walk correctly in law, in things that's written, because we deal with politics. We don't get in this color thing. I say, okay, for my brother and my Democratic sister, okay, you say we black, we Democrats, and we Democrats now, and people say we was Republican then, Republic. I say I get that. So let's talk about today, where we black people we vote Democrat, and okay, if that's the case, brothers and sisters, what is the Democratic black agenda? I'll be waiting. What is the Democratic black agenda that black people wrote a list and said this, and the leader or the person that's in charge say they don't administer this or hand deliver or mail this to the political party and to the one that's going to be making decisions and blah, blah, blah. This is the misnomer black agenda. Have you seen one?
There's one. There isn't one.
I mean, it's an obvious rhetorical question.
They don't have one at all.
Thank you,
There
Lamar.
can't be one. It can't be. It ain't a real thing. It's artificial.
I mean, I don't know. I don't. To say that there's no black, I don't know. I think this is a difficult conversation. I'm trying to stay out of it, but
No.
there's no black agenda. I think there is a black agenda. The reality is, the conversation is, well, is that agenda effective? Has that agenda moved the needle? I think that's the conversation. But to say there's no black agenda, I don't think that's true. I think there is things out there, and I only can speak for myself and what I saw out of 47 years. But I would say, in large part, the agenda that I've seen, I haven't seen it be very effective in moving the needle towards helping raise either the vibration, the resources, or the efficiency of a people to be able to manage in affairs any better than they were when I was born. So in that regard, I would say, I don't know if the plan has really been effective, but again, it depends on the perspective you have on what the plan is. It has been effective, but it depends on, from your perspective, what they were trying to accomplish. So
Now I agree with you as well. That's why I like to have these conversations. So when we say individual and as a people, we're talking about a whole. So that's what I'll be talking about. Where when a person may say, "Well, I think it is an agenda," and I say, "Okay, well, what is the agenda?" For when people say, when people say Black Lives Matter and this, that, and the other, and they have an agenda, and I say, okay, well, we Democrats, what's the Democratic agenda? What was laid out for the misnomer black vote to say 1, 2, 3, all these, and then somebody will say, well, I want these, but that might not be the same thing that a person believes in because that might not affect them. I'm saying as a people, for the people's vote, when I say an agenda that the masses have agreed upon, and when those things are not, how can I say, accounted to, then you can bring up a person, say, hey man, wait a minute, now you accountable for these things. Now I understand individual things, but I'm like an agenda. Like for instance, the 2025, that agenda by a group of a body that agreed to certain things. So I get personal agendas, some people might say, man, yes, we don't want police brutality. We want equal schools, and that's some wants. But in reality, that's how would that happen? So I'm talking about the agenda and getting a vote for a group of people like the LBGT have and European Jews. I'm saying, what was the agenda? And a person say, well, there is an agenda, and I say, okay, well, I'm with that too. Well, what is it? Because I haven't seen one. I get personal use, but I haven't seen an agenda like we have everything else, like a person say, this is the Willie Lynch letter, or this is the Dred Scott letter, or this is the black agenda, and this is what's been laid out after president from president, black agendas, and some of these things has happened, and we just need to add to. That's all I'm asking.
when you look at history, like how Mark was saying, even like back in quote unquote Martin Luther King time when they had the boycott movement, or they was doing the people riding with each other. That was an agenda, and it did do something, but in the totality of things, it really it didn't make no world of a difference. You know what I'm saying?
You know why? Because it wasn't an agenda for the people. Because everybody didn't believe like that. You know what I mean? Like then everybody voted. Back then the Muslims voted. The Malcolm, Martin Luther King, all people voted. And I said, okay, the agenda. Because everybody wasn't for that civil rights movement during that time period. Everybody wasn't for assimilating. So I say, what is the black agenda to where say, if we all sit down, no matter what our religious beliefs is, and say, okay, we indigenous, whatever, okay, etc. And now what we laying out, the agenda, put our we call it.
No, when we talk about that, don't we need to? But this, in retrospect, is when we talk about representation or taxation without representation. So this is more or less saying, okay, what agenda? There has to be already an agreement about a collective agenda before that even takes place. So when you talk about 3/5 of a person, right? That means that there's not even a whole person to make an agenda too. This is why we gotta understand this.
Thank you.
Talk about, okay, what are we talking about? Like, okay, what's this agenda? Well, first of all, we gotta go. Mr. Elliott, you gotta rewind.
Come on, Noble.
What do you mean? What you mean?
Come on,
you gotta
Noble.
be a whole people to get it something that talk about a whole collective.
Come on.
Islam.
Come on, Noble.
I mean, that's part of why I said that it's a rhetorical question. Because, again, I think the obvious answer is there obviously is nothing. Otherwise, any one of us should be able to really easily. I mean, we've been melanated our entire life, so if there was an agenda that we've been hearing from our grandpa and our moms, I mean, we would know that stuff like we know the Pledge of Allegiance or anything else. That's why I said it's a rhetorical question, because there obviously is not agenda other than just being a victim. And that's why I said that's what I think the agenda is, and I think they've been very effective in that agenda, because everybody would say, are we the victim? This that happened to us, that happened to us, you know, this is going on, man. I mean, you know, and that's the only thought. It's not about, hey, you know, what are we capable of? So that's why I made the statement I made earlier.
And once again, I agree with you again. And then why this all sums back to Negro, blacks, and colored never will have rights. So when we talk about this black thing, that's why it's almost like defending the lie in court with a lie. You're gonna lose. The attorney, the prosecutor, the judge, whatever, gonna be like, wait a minute, but you defending a lie. You can't get no truth. You can't build off this. It's like the Three Little Bears. It's like you building this on all rebel. Of course, it's gonna be blew down easy. Your defense is defenseless. Are you following me? In the course of law. So you're not involved as we the people. We already into it. It's just not Negro, black, and colored, and African Americans is in the Constitution. We the people, the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, in order to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution to the United States of America. We are in this. Just not Negro, black, and colored, and African Americans, ain't. Never was.
Gotta have a nationality.
Yes.
Gotta have a nationality.
Yes. So when the political person is up there, I'm giving an analogy, what they should be doing, which Obama did just a tittle, but everybody was stuck on the black thing. Obama told us we was a nation of laws. And Obama was the only president that told us the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15. That should have just opened our ears and cleaned out a little wax to jump into the Constitution and start thinking about, wait a minute, we ain't tripping on this president, Democrat. We looking at law and policy, and now we got to get ourselves back in the nations of people first. It's some more work we got to do before this can happen, because we have to be a people with an agenda first. Then we can say what's the agenda for this type of view of people.
Islam.
Think about it. So think about that, because everybody else have agendas. They are people, and it's across the board. It's agreed upon. They have officials. They might brainstorm. They might have 50,000 things that they say. They say, okay, well, on what you're going to take to the president, we got these 10,000 things. And the leader of this go to this, like, to get our vote, this is what we want. And then when you see stuff happen, you start seeing these laws passed for this person, and they get this, and they able to get this. You like, why? Agendas. And so when I talk about black, and I know according to science and law, black means death. So this is all locked in. Politics and all this is locked in with law, right? Science and law, right?
Islam.
So if that's so according to science and law, black means death to nationality. So our whole fight should be like, wait a minute, we have to wake up and give that black stuff back. That's the number one thing. We shouldn't be worrying about no Republican or no Democrat. Why? Because it's the same thing. When they running for president all day, the same thing. They part of one same fraternity. You know, these is facts. So us as a people, we should be like, okay, what is the agenda for a misnomer black people? What's the agenda? And then all I ask on the flip side, Lamarck, I ask my brothers.
Nationality is so you can have rights.
Yes. Yes, and that's where we lost that. We don't know that. They say it don't matter. Yeah, and if a whole bunch of individuals keep doing it, it's not going to matter too much. Yeah, you might be treated different, but they say they ain't even caught on yet. They be like, them brothers ain't caught on yet.
Right.
They ain't caught on yet. They ain't made no difference. Just like when that every 10 years, when that census come out. Only thing black people been getting from then is welfare, because that's all we've been asking for. What? Welfare, government check, Section 8, some damn government cell phones. That's where it's going. Because blacks are slaves.
Right in your neighborhood with the
That's all of the other.
What you say, Noble?
My bad. That's part of why I made the statement earlier about being a victim, because again, and like I said, it's a tough conversation because people are saying they're black on both sides of the argument. So it's like there's just not enough people that are not saying. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party. Everybody's saying they black. So it's hard to have that conversation, on a bigger scale. To me, if there was one like major takeaway from this whole, experience that we just saw. And I'm not telling people what side to be on. You know what I mean? Like we're clearly not saying that, But if there was anything, I would say this was a referendum on being true to who you are.
I agree.
And I would say if there's anything that I could take away from everything that we all experience, right? A lot of people said a lot of things, and I'm not trying to put people on either side. I'm just saying a lot of people said a lot of things about who the person or who the people were that were trying to be president, right? Mm-hmm. And, but you can't say one thing about the person who got selected is he has always and consistently been exactly who he was.
Agreed.
Unapologetically, without worrying about what the impacts or without worrying about if somebody was going to like him or he was consistent. And to me, that was the takeaway is, this was the referendum. The people within the United States said, we want people that are authentic. We want people that are truly going to be who they are, because I can see that, I can respect that, I can accept that. If you're not going to be that, it's going to be difficult for us to really wrap our mind around acknowledging you and supporting whatever it is you're trying to do.
Okay.
And that to me was a huge takeaway. So,
I agree. And Lamar very well said. Now, I agree to a certain extent. Like for me, when a person say authentic, for what I hear a lot of black men say, because a lot of black men really don't know, and I'm just saying, a lot that I speak to, they really don't know a lot of stuff that Trump done or businesses or tried to get the five brothers locked up and just so much things. And before he was president, yes, a lot of black people was in love with Trump. You had all rappers with pictures in them and all that. You had Jesse Jackson giving him credit when he was running for president and how Trump was hiring black people to build this, that, and the other. I get that, but hell, I'm gonna hire everybody for labor too. But what I'm saying, I think I'm glad you said that, because I heard a lot of people say that they like a person just saying or being, how they feel. And I think that's good and bad. And I think sometimes people mix that for authentic and just plain narcissistic or whatever. No one's better than me, and I think a lot of brothers got caught on that because Trump would just say whatever. He'll say, hey, man, I feel okay to grab the women by they hoo-has. And he'll say that anywhere, and a person that feel like, yeah, that's what a man say, they'll feel is authentic. But I feel that's tasteless for a person to say that loud, or in a group of people to say, man, it's okay to say grab a woman. I think that's tasteless. Some people will say that's authentic. He speaks or he say what he feel. I think sometimes that's messed up for a person to do that, But then on the flip side, I do understand what you're saying. That's why I said I agree to a lot that makes sense. And what you saying do make sense. I don't like a person that be up there and be disingenuous or be up there lying and know they lying, because both parties have done that. Both parties have said some things. And if a person took the time to research, you'd be like, that's not true. You'd be like, that ain't true. That definitely ain't true. That definitely ain't true. And so then we get to start picking things on based of, how can I say, how we like a person, and if they popular. So I think a lot of people, just mistake boisterous because it's a testosterone thing, it's an ego thing. I've had a lot of my friends, Noble Lamarck, that went to school with me, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because it's needed. And to say the reason why the world is messed up because women try to rule the world and this, not, and the other, and if Trump was going to mess up the world, he would have did it in 2016 and this and that and the other. And I say, that's fine. But I think, once again, going back to a people, because I agree with you again. Republicans, black, like you said, everybody said they were black. You had look at all the brothers that voted for Trump. They say they that black stuff too. I agree with you, Lamarck. And my whole thing going back to that's why I say misnomer black people don't know who they are. Because they both parties saying they black. Both parties they say they down with reparations. Well, how? Can you say you down with reparations and you call yourself black? Neither one. See, this is the psychosis of what I'm saying. How black people is crazy.
Islam, and I guess that's why I was saying like this is a tough conversation for the average misnomer black person to have, because if you have so many people that are saying the same thing, fear, right? We talk about fear, and I think and again, this goes back to my statement. Again, I'm not absolving to saying anybody can be disrespectful to people and do whatever, and it's okay. No. I'm saying being authentic about who you are. Like, not trying to be one person in public and a different person in private. Not trying to be, one person at certain engagements and a different person in a different engagement, right? You know what I mean? Like, the more of us that can truly, truly be who we are on an everyday basis. You always ask us, at least amongst us here, that becomes a new baseline for how people can see themselves, can see what's possible, and can also maybe, I think, start to turn the page and maybe ask the question about, why we're doing this. You talk a lot about us being honorable and us being noble and how many people see us on an everyday basis. Mm-hmm. Again, if they see us being extremely consistent every single day with being who we are, living in our, natural state as beings, as Moors, and that begins to change the narrative for the other people that are looking at us, the other black people that are maybe afraid to try to maybe be who they is or find out who they are. That provides the courage and an example for them to say, you know what, maybe I can start mimicking what he's doing, or I can start paying attention, or I can start being open to the example that they're setting, that maybe this other one might not be working for me like I thought.
Good. And anybody else have some dialogue? Because this man, Lamarck, I love this. Okay, so Lamarck,
we can do this all day long. I can do this all day long.
I know, I love it.
We don't have enough of these conversations.
Yes.
For us to really kind of share in dialogue kind of what we're actually experiencing.
Yes.
So I love it.
So Lamarck, so let me ask you a question. Example. So like say if you have a child, so if any of us have a child on here, what about examples? Would that particular person, that one president, would that be a good example of how men are with women in the house speak? Is that a good example, visual? Not saying us as the example and modeling us, but I'm talking about that person that we are voting office and be like, this is the person I want to be modeled after, this and that and the other. This is a good example of how men are. Could we say that's a good example of how men are? Yes or no?
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Nope.
Thank you.
I mean, it is an example.
I get that. That is an example. Don't get me wrong, because good and bad, those are all examples. But I'm saying, as a man today, judging if those the characteristics that we say we admonish, and we will say these are characteristics that we want to teach our brothers and sisters. Yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
No, you know why? Because we got to stand up for what we for.
Thank you.
Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Thank you.
Regardless of what example people put forth, we got to say that's their thing.
Come on, Alonzo.
We can't say that. We want love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Point blank. Period. So if you come on this side, we draw a line.
Thank you. Do you see that? That's what I'm saying. I'm so passionate about this already. I can't. That's not no example. And then when we compare them both, if we compare the man and a woman, what example? I'm not going to say that's an example. When a lot of men say she's not qualified, well, what's the qualifications? Everybody passed the qualifications, as long as you ain't no killer. But to say education, she got the education. She got the example, but then to say we can't do what the other man do. We can't speak like that. Imagine if Alonzo went out and spoke like that, running for a position, a political position. They would have called him a racist. Imagine if Alonzo carried himself like that.
Off top.
He would have been shunned upon, would have been like they would have been saying Alonzo crazy. And not only that, his own people would have said he crazy. And that's why I say other people, they be down to a default. And we don't, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
When this the game that we'll play, we'll say, well, this person will speak up or this and that. And I say, but is that an example that we want to follow? Is that an example when we looking at how a person speak, how they feel? Because the person that tell you, it's just like when they say Abraham Lincoln freed the slave. No, he didn't. He just did what he thought was at that time. Because if he had a choice, he wouldn't have done it. A lot of them feel like that. A lot of them feel like that. So I'm not going against what Lamarck's saying. That this is good. This is amazing dialogue. And because these are...
This is good discourse.
Yes.
This is good discourse. And that's why I use the example. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is why I use the example about, the fear part, right? You talk about it all the time, about us being comfortable with who we are, who we understand ourselves to be. And I think part of when you talk about the plight of the misnomer, black man or woman and what we not getting, it's just a part of me that goes back to like, if we were made in the image of the Creator and we refuse to acknowledge that, how is it possible that we could really expect the Creator to bless us? Woo! Especially when Allah is in every single aspect of everything. I said this to Malik the other day, right? Like, we will on our own decide that you're going to give up on yourself. And this is how I say you do that. By deciding, man, I know I shouldn't do that, but I don't care. Yeah, I know I shouldn't go there, but I don't care. I know I should be more responsible, but I'm not going to. Whatever it is you're going to do, I know I shouldn't drink and drive. Whatever you do, right? The universe, which is connected to the Creator, right? God, Allah. The universe is like, you can do whatever you want to do. Whenever you done doing all that, you still gonna have to come over here and sit in the principal's office and go deal with this punishment.
Yep.
So that punishment could be, loss of something. You know what I mean? Life, family, whatever it might be, right? It could be, you get hit with something real tough and we sit down like, oh, look what happened to me. No, what happened to you is you decided to give up on yourself, forgetting the fact that you're made in the image of the Creator, a person who cannot give up on you and did not give up in your spirit. So when you decide to do so, you're still going to have to suffer the consequences. So we just need to stop choosing to give up on ourselves and choosing to be exactly what it is that we're capable of being. Islam.
Gratitude for that participation, Noble. That goes right back to Noble Brian yesterday. Why are we in the present condition that we are in? Because why? Because we don't forgot about mind and nature. That's basically what Noble Lamar was saying. This is why the prophet Noble Drew Ali is ever present in his demonstration. Because if we really truly understood what him coming on the scene did and revealed for the people, then we would all have to take a seat and really examine what the prophet brought to us. Because like he said, if you would just think,
yes,
you would save yourself overnight.
Yes.
Just think. Man, that's Islam.
Come on, man. You got to be passionate about this. And that's what I tell people. I say, if you ain't passionate about this, it don't do something to you inside, because it do to me. It make me feel a certain way when I think about this, the simplicity of it. This ain't got nothing to do with nobody else. Like me and my dad always talk about. We talk about the scripture. We always talk about what somebody else got to do. Ain't nobody else finna come save you. Ain't nothing finna come out. We ain't finna go get in the line and say saved. We don't need nobody else to name us. Only slave get named by the. We name us. We take our rightful place in the affairs of men and women. We from what? From an understanding. And the understanding is we got to know who we are. The kids got to know who we are. I ain't never said nothing wrong with voting. I love voting because reparations is tied in voting. That's laws. Don't y'all know that? What? Reparation is tied to voting. Nationality is tied to voting. We know that we're a nation of laws. So if we're a nation of laws, why don't we take our affairs into the ranks of men where the right place is going to make a difference? Because it's not going to make a difference as we see with this Democratic Republican thing and misnumbered black people on both parties, as I agree with Noble Lamarck said, because you got Negroes on both sides. My homeboy voted for Trump, boisterous on the internet talking about it. And I know he with the black stuff. when all this, and I know he'll feel about reparations. Well, Trump don't give a damn about no If it came down to getting niggas reparations today, and no disrespect, and if Trump was in it, I bet you no black people would get no reparations. I bet you that.
Islam.
And I'm talking about and for the brothers and no disrespect, and on the Democrat side, Negroes ain't gonna get no reparations. Why? Because they know. I don't give a damn if you hire Ben Crump. Y'all know who Ben Crump is, don't y'all?
Yep.
Okay.
The lawyer.
The lawyer that every time something black happens, Ben Crump know that a Negro, a black, a color, African American, and they Democrats. They know that a black person would never get reparations, long as they identify as Negro, black, or color, or African American, something that's synonymous to slavery, which is a misnomer. These are the facts, and the facts are stubborn. Obama told us a little bit. We are a nation of laws.
That's the horrible part.
We didn't catch it.
He know all that and went tell his own people. That's the horrible part.
Because they can't. It's for us. I broke down what is the preamble. We the people. I said we got to bring up charges. It ain't for them. They can throw out little nuggets, little message, but presidents are not. They already selected. How? From the electoral college. I mean, they already elected. We just going through the game. Y'all saw this with if anybody know anything about politics, which I know the average black person don't know. Y'all saw how Trump won. What did he have to get? How many of the certain votes did he have to get to win? If you don't know,
277 electoral votes.
Come on, Noble Lamar. See, that's why I can talk to certain people that know. I'm not coming from no hate. I'm saying if you don't know how this game go, you can't say that you have a fully understanding on how casting a ballot or casting a vote or what's even on the ballot or even how to vote. We don't have these questions or we don't have these discussions at a people to how you even fill out a ballot. To if you ain't down with Republican or Democrat or if you ain't independent, what shall I do? You don't even know what millage to fill out. It's so much other things that's on there.
Islam.
See, this is the thing. And what we do, we argue. And I say we got to remove that argument and from a place that we don't know as misnomer black people. The BBT is the think tank. Do you think in the temples they were just in there having some religion? They were in there with them test tubes and they beaker, history and everything, learning. You didn't come out the temple until you was 45 as a what? An elder.
Yeah.
This is what I'm telling us. We have to know what we're talking about and know why we doing things. And so when I see them brothers and they all boisterous with their chest out, I said, you think, that means something? Well, I voted for Trump. But then I ask them again, because they say they black, you down with reparations? Yep. That don't make sense. You should be down with knowing who you are. And then when you understand that, now it's some other questions that you have to ask before you cast your ballot at a political party. Knowing who you are. Now you got to know how to move because we moving as a people. We moving as a current. We ain't moving individualized. So when they can see a group of people filling things out and they feeling it all the right way, now movement happens. Now things is happening because there's a group. The Bible says when two or more gather, there I am, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
The Bible talking about a nation. It's talking about a nation of people that's been stripped from their identity. So voting not going to mean nothing if you don't what? Pick up your identity first. Think about this, y'all, as we dialoguing. Let's pull up the little document of a little bit of what is law.
They're called the lost tribes.
Yes. I'm not here to argue with and if we was lost, the other one, Noble, Brian, and if we was lost, how we get lost? And are we found? Because when people talk about the lost tribe, I tell people I'm not lost. I ain't lost.
The lost tribes is losing the identity, not physically being lost, mentally being lost. Your identity is lost.
Yes. I agree. Totally. That's why I said I have to have these conversations, about law and what is law. Like, law is a concept that we are exposed. Can you read that, Brian? Because I can't read it. I can't see it.
Islam. What is law? Law is a concept that we are exposed to all of our lives, and which affects our lives and the things around us. Law is as essential to a well-ordered universe as it is to a stable and just civil or jural society, or a properly kept family unit. That we might better understand how law relates to us, we need to define what it is or should be. The following is a definition of law from Black's Law Dictionary. 1. That which is laid down or ordained or established. 2. A system of principles and rules of human conduct. 3. A rule of civil conduct. 4. A law is a general rule of human action. And 5. A law is a command which obliges a person or persons.
Now let's stop right there. Y'all know what that is? Remember, law governs all events. No more that's dealing with moral science can disagree with what we're saying unless they don't know their teachings. That's love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But words are synonyms in the eyes of the law. Look at it.
Islam.
Look at it. Look at it. Look
Just
at
how I
it.
was saying, there's one Allah, you know what I'm saying, and one in the law, you know what I'm saying, how it says, or for a right universe, you know what I'm saying, there's a law, or for a right family, and more science is for the family, there must be a law.
It's a rule that guides, that directs, limits the conduct or action of something or someone. You see? So I don't want to step in all that. That's why nobles need to have the literature. Go page up. I think it's another topic. Was there anything else I didn't want to touch on? Because I just want to give a little introduction on what law is. And even in the Bible and the Quran, it's going to be written on when I talk about the al-salat. And when I talk about tradition, we ain't doing things on tradition. No, this is not orthodox. This is the BBT. We do things the Moorish way. Stop right there, source of law. No, this is not orthodox. We do things the law way. And if it was law, it's only one law. It don't change. We ain't worrying about what a whole bunch of other groups do. You right? Are you with me?
Islam.
Islam.
Give me a little bit of the source of law.
The source of law. We generally understand that all laws which regulate human conduct are either human or divine, according to whether they have man or God for their author or source. Under Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, the law of God has always stood for preeminence in relation to human law.
Stop right there. So, come on, Brian. I hope y'all caught this. There's power in this.
It is. Come on.
I mean, do y'all see the power in what Brian just read in that paragraph? Do anybody?
I'll reread it. We generally understand that all laws which regulate human conduct are either human or divine, according to whether they have man or God for their author or source. Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, the law of God has always stood preeminent in relation to human law.
It always stood in place. Any of your municipalities and your local cities, you see this in example. You see that they always use and include God.
Yes.
What's on the Liberty Bell?
Writings on the building.
Yes.
And God we trust is right on money. What you talking about?
That's why they say, what would Jesus do? Not saying it's the choices, it's the likeness, the kind-heartedness. Like, we got to read beyond the parable. It's saying that, it's telling you that it's the preeminence in relation to human law. What? Under the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, the law of God has always stood in preeminence. Always. Always. Man's laws are strengthened before God's law. Consequently, a human law directly contrary to the law of God would be an absolute nullity. You see?
That's noble. And when you look into your research, when you do your studies on the United States of America and what we call the founding fathers, you see what they laid down was explicitly connected to divine law.
Come on.
It's different. It's different than when you study other nations.
Yep.
If you do your research,
Yep.
Islam.
So if I can chime in real quick, there's a key word that Brian keeps saying, and I think Sheik's mentioned it a couple times, but I'm not sure everybody got it. The word is preeminent.
Mm-hmm.
So if people understand what preeminence means, you know,
preeminence is the fact of surpassing all others, superiority. So when they say that God's law is preeminent, what they're saying is that law was there before any other laws.
Come on.
That anybody created, spoke about, tried to convince you of, were on the books.
Yes.
Islam.
It supersedes.
You know what I mean? It supersedes all of them. And I would make the argument that I think whether you consciously think about it or not, you understand the importance of law. Why? Become a parent.
Yep.
And then you be like, all right, no rules around here. And we're gonna see how that works. Your life gonna be in shambles.
Yep.
You're gonna want to put rules and regulations with your laws, right? That somebody gotta follow. Otherwise there's gonna be consequence.
Islam.
See, when we look at divine creation, nobles, we look at also law in action, noble, because when you look at the divine science of 9 times 9, when we go into just the birth cycle, this is laws.
Yep.
See, like, these ain't abstract things.
Yes.
Like, you got to go through this. Like, what? Come on this earth, man, you got to go through 9 months. This is a law. This is not arbitrary. So certain things are written in, if you will, in essence, in the universe, in the stars. These things are not what we would call man-made laws. We have divine law, which springs all law, which is the point. Gratitude for that demonstration, Lamar. Islam.
Go to the next topic, because we just want to touch on bullets and get to the main topic, because we don't want to be about an hour and a half, and we're gonna get out of here. Page up. If y'all don't have it, I really recommend people that's following us to get with us and get the literature, for you can have it and read it. Is that it, Brian? Now, legislative authority. Today we have the situation of legislative bodies, such as the state legislature or Congress, existing as a source for making laws. Okay, so it's just like when people say, well, the president this, when we talk about this a body, people can veto. It's a process how things been made. Legislation and these and that's in Congress, and things have to pass certain houses. All the stuff that we must know. Islam?
Islam.
So that's just a little crash course, but y'all got it. I want y'all to read it. Page up. I think that okay. And where we don't want to jump in codes of revised status. We'll just leave that for anybody. Like I said, they can get the documents from us. It's very, very important just to give you a preface of what law consists of, for you can get an idea of what not to do and ask some questions. Islam? That's why I said this is a school and I'm a source. I have a lot to offer. A workman is due his hire. That's why I say you're going to get not only spiritual education, you're going to get wisdom here at the BBT. That's what a true mapping guide does. A jack of all trades, but a master of none. But oftentimes better than a master of one. Put up that white by law. I know this is Malik. He loved this document. He's going to have a lot to say about this. Because once again, I'm going back to make this universal, us as a people. No matter if we're Republican, Democratic, Islam, Christian, Black, Muslim, Hebrew, Israelite, if we all sit down in one room, we should all have a common denominator. And I'm going to go back to Lamarck. I'm going to use this as a speaking point. We all are black people. I'm using that word as a speaking point. So if we all are black people, and I'm just saying black people, say if we Moor, and if we all understand that we Moors, then it got to be something that we got to agree on when it comes down to casting our vote, right?
Yeah.
We got to understand our nationality, our race, and our status, right?
That's right.
I mean, am I right, brothers and sisters?
Our sense of this paragraph is highly important.
Okay, Malik. So what's your nationality?
My nationality is
Huh?
I'm
Moorish American.
What's your race?
Free white.
No, I said what's your race?
Oh, Asiatic, sorry, and then free white.
By choice. That's right. And what's your status?
Free white. My status is free white.
I ain't say you was no white man. I ain't say you was no Albion. I ain't say you was no Trelodite. Did I? I said, what's your status? You said your status was free white. Your status can't be African American, black, nigger, white, because those slaves, you got to understand this. No one from the continent of Africa identify as black person.
Yeah, but people are being their feelings about that word white and black.
Yes, because they don't have an understanding.
The law is not discriminating.
The 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment. They don't get it.
Come on, Dantes.
It's not discriminate on color. It's all on a general. It's a commonality. Is what law is based upon, a commonality.
Come on. We've been talking about common law. And I told y'all, common sense is not that common when you're dealing with black people. That you must be able to agree with facts, and we can't. Well, I don't care. Well, with this, I've been okay with it. No, as a people, as the children, we can change the whole world.
Let's break it. Let's break racism, right? Racism is a social construct. Everybody knows this now. It's not. They're not hiding it. If you know that it's a social construct, then break the word down. How many races are on the planet? It's a very simple scientific answer because they teach everybody this in science class in junior high.
Yep.
It's the human race.
That's it. So to be racist sounds retarded. That means you don't like human beings. Excuse my candor. Don't mean to offend nobody, but you must seek more education if you don't understand the etymology of words.
Yes.
Race is a competition.
Yes.
So it's a social construct created to make people believe that this competition exists in black and white areas, and it doesn't.
Malik, you just educated every brother and sister on here. The first thing we have to do is understand words, the origin and the etymology. That's number uno. And we don't have this. Maya Angelou said a long time, I got documents of Maya Angelou in video. She said, if they taught international law, which we teach, she like black people come a long way because they think that voting means something when they talk about they Negro, black, or color, or slaves. And we still have
civil law, right?
Man.
I'm arguing that stuff.
Yes.
It's not human rights.
Yes.
So do you want to go with your rights, or do you want to go with civil law, which is beneath human rights?
Malik.
Because you were born a human being.
Didn't James Baldwin tell us that he's not your Negro?
Yeah.
James Baldwin said this, and I told everybody, watch that. How when James Baldwin was watching them Western movies, it didn't come to his mind until he saw what was happening. He like, wait a minute, they killing indigenous people.
Sammy Davis Jr. told him the same thing.
Y'all have black people was mad at him because he wore this. They talk about, look at, he got the Star of David, not understanding no science, no history.
Right.
So let's deal with this a little bit. In the first words on the subject of citizenship, Congress in 1790 restricted naturalization to white persons. That should be it for you right there. If you don't understand that little line, what I just said, you need to go and ask everybody, your civic teacher, your history teacher, anybody that's dealing with law and policy, your mama, big mama that talk all that black stuff, and we all black and we out of Africa, we came over here with some slave boat, ask them that. In the first words on the subject of citizenship, Congress in 1790
I can see it.
restricted naturalization to white peoples. Restricted naturalization to white persons. Though the requirements for naturalization changed frequently thereafter, this racial prerequisite to citizenship endured for over a century and a half, remaining in force until 1952. For the earliest years of this country, until just a generation ago, being a white person was a condition for acquiring citizenship. And we still talk this, and we still let these black people with this black and this proud play this dumb game with us. And I say, I get all that, how you feel, but now let's deal with law and policy and deal with the laws. What you saying don't hold water to what we talking about. You're going to still be a slave. You don't get nothing. This must be administered. But that's what I'm talking about before we talk about some vote. This need to be agreed upon. Whether one was white, however, was often no easy question. What? As immigration reached record heights at the turn of this century, countless people found themselves arguing their racial identity in order to naturalize. From 1907, when the federal government began collecting data on naturalization, until 1920, over 1 million people gained citizenship under the racially restrictive naturalization laws. And if you read Sacred Drift and you read Peter Lambert Wilson, you see how those people came and got their identity under what the prophet was telling misnomer black people, how to give that back. And it still ain't caught on to today. And it still ain't caught on. And our prophet said, into the 2000s, you will see a little bit. That's why I'm going to continue to teach the truth. Regardless if it fill a room or clears it out, I stand alone with it. I stand alone. Many are sought to naturalize and were rejected. Naturalization rarely involved formal court proceedings, and therefore, listen to this, usually generated few, if any, written records beyond the simple decision. However, a number of cases during the white person's prerequisite reached the highest state and federal judicial courts, and two were argued before the U.S. Supreme Court in the early 1920s. Y'all remember what was the hidden cause of the Civil War? Come on.
Slavery.
Now, well, yes. What was the cause? Yeah, I hear you. But come on, I'm looking for something specific. What was the
like enslaved, right? And weakened in the South.
That too, but remember, to have a tittle of that Negro blood in you, you was a nigga. Excuse my candor, you was a slave.
Yeah, that's where they start using the word black.
And mulatto.
Yeah, mulatto. Yeah, synonymously the same that though people off the bread trails of what white men.
I'm trying to tell you. But remember, if you had a tittle of that black blood in you, you was an NIGGA. So you got to imagine, and remember I said, now y'all got to remember in history, the son bears the things of the mother. A lot of these people that you think European will have white daddies.
Wait, say that again?
A lot of these so-called Europeans in history had black daddies per se.
Yeah.
J. Edgar Hoover and Pascal Beverly Randolph. Research them.
Historically.
Research it. We be looking at the hue of somebody's skin, not the blood that flows in their veins. Stay in context. These cases proceeded illuminating published decisions that document the efforts of would-be citizens from around the world to establish their whiteness at law. You hear what we said? Whiteness at law. Whiteness at law. Because according to science and law, black mean death. Y'all got to be picking up this lawful aspect. We got everything that we do. We a nation of laws. Obama tried to tell black people this. Once you give a Caesar what's back his and you give all those a chattel slavery, then you can bring up charges. We're not listening. We're not listening.
Yeah.
Applicants from Hawaii. Remember our prophet said, the uniting of Asia. Listen to this. Applicants from Hawaii, China, Japan, Burma, Philippines. That's your Moorish Quran, as well as all mixed races. Applicants failed in their argument. Conversely, courts ruled that applicants from Mexico and Armenia were white, but validated over the whiteness of the petitioners from Syria, India, Arabia, seen as a taxonomy of whiteness. I hope y'all know what taxonomy means. These cases are instructive because they reveal the imprecisions and contradictions inherited in the establishment of racial lines between whites and non-whites. Remember, that's why you can't arbitrarily explain the law. That's why I tell people there's no excuse of not knowing the law in the court of law. You would be abused if you go in the court and don't know nothing. You would be abused if you don't defend yourself.
You got a naturalized citizen and then a natural citizen, right?
Yes.
Somebody who's a natural citizen is already white by law.
Yes.
Somebody who becomes a naturalized citizen has to go through a due process.
Come on. See? Taxonomical. Yes.
I didn't say anything about anybody's skin color.
Yes. Yes, Malik.
Because when you go through citizenship and you could be one of these people from Hawaii or the Philippines, all these things, right? You can go through due process if you want to become a naturalized citizen. If you're already born here, like your parents could have been from abroad, but once you were born here, your parents was already here. You are a white person by the law.
And Malik.
Naturally.
And we already hangman ourselves when we fill out the document and we click Negro, Black, and Colored, and we don't know who we are, and it says it's all of us on it on the SF 181 form.
Yeah, you went backwards.
When we put black man and don't read, we already admit it. That's what they want us to do. This is a hangman. Why? Because we don't know who we are. I ain't just talking about kids. I'm talking about adults too. Will get a document and pick black. They'll talk all that stuff like they know and still default in what they assign. See, these is facts.
Yeah, I told you what happened when I went to Baltimore. You could have heard a pin drop in that room.
Yep. And see, the individual who petitioned for naturalization forced the courts into a case by case. So now, this is so prophetic. Remember, proclaim, declare, and have due process. That's case by case. Then we can take it after people, which we need to do. The prophet already told us this. Listen to the science, the law. The individuals who petitioned for naturalization forced the courts into a case by case struggle to define who was a person, who was a white person. We talk about the Spencer and Dungy case. Remember, before Abraham Lincoln, whether he is an attorney, he defended the Moore in court. It was illegal to be Negro, Black, and Colored. It was illegal since 25 to be a Negro, and it still is illegal today. Think about this, y'all.
But that's self-identification, right?
Yes, that's what the court says. For the record, who are you? If you don't tell around, I'll tell you a slave, and you ain't even gonna bring me up on charges. You gonna let it go. You gonna say, well, no, I got a letter of court saying I gotta come defend myself in court, saying I'm not, and come say for the record that I'm a Moor, and I got a Sheik, and I got a Fez, and I'm part of the nation, and my religious laws trump all this. I'm afraid to go tell them for the record. I'm a default and say, yep, I'm a nigga. Fool. More importantly, the courts were required in these pre-required cases to articulate rationales for the divisions they were creating. So when you go to court, you got to say, okay, well, what you making this decision based on? Why are you not making this decision based on this? How is this happening based on this? It's case by case. Just like I say, if you come to my court and you being arrested for stealing some bread just because you a thief, I might be different with judging you. But if you come to my court and you stealing bread because your family don't have no food and y'all need something to eat, it might be different. I might judge you different. Think about that. Beyond simply issuing declarations, yes, in favor or against a particular applicant, the courts and exponents of the applicable law had to explain the basis on which they drew the boundaries of whiteness. So when you go to court, you say, well, you're a Negro, Black, and this, and we're from Africa, based off what? I tell you, must proclaim, declare. Individual. And individuals come together, make nations. Individuals coming together make nations and families. The families come together and say who we are. We adopted, resurrected. The courts had to establish by law whether, for example, a petitioner's race was to be measured, listen to this, y'all, by skin color, facial features, national origin, language, culture, ancestry, the speculations of scientists, popular opinion, or some combination of these factors. Now watch this. It says skin color or facial features. Now let's play devil's advocate. Malik, mama can have a child that's pale, and the facial features going to be the same. Can he go to court and say, and I'm just using this for speaking point to say, I'm not Lamar Cousin, I'm a whole different nationality because my skin different tone? No. He's still the same person. The blood that's in his veins, his skin tone don't make him a Negro color or African or European. How? And his mama got kids dark as him. He just came out with a pigment, disfiguration, which we call albinism.
Albinism, yeah, sir.
Come on. His national origin gonna be the same. His language gonna be the same. His culture gonna be the same. His ancestry is gonna be the same. The speculations of scientists, popular opinion, like theory, which means nothing. So if that's the case, Noble Lamarck, if they got a theory, you can have a theory, which you can't arbitrarily say who I am in a course of law. That's arbitrary. Can't nobody say who you are.
In today's society, is popular opinion.
Yes. So
It's
the
just an
courts,
opinion.
the courts had to decide whether these other factors would govern the inevitable cases, where the various indices of race contradicted one another. And so I want to give a little bit more piece, and we're gonna go to the next document because I want y'all to have this. If you was coming to class, you will get this. You will understand the importance of law. You will understand the importance of casting your vote as an American. You will understand everything that I'm saying, and we wouldn't be ignorant on things because according to science and law, blacks are slaves, forever will be.
That means you self-identify as that, to be clear.
Yeah. You got to remember, the prerequisite cases were at the center of racial debates in the United States for 50 years following the Civil War, when immigration and nativism were both running high. Naturalization laws figured promptly in the fervor over the appropriate status of the newcomers and were heatedly discussed not only by most respected public figures today, but also the swirl of popular policies. Y'all remember Senator Charles Sumner sought to expunge the Dred Scott. He tried to expunge it. The Supreme Court decision, which had held that blacks, listen, for all my black people, let me say this again. Listen clearly, y'all. Cut all the noise off. That the Dred Scott, the Supreme Court decision, which had held that blacks were not citizens. Blacks were not citizens. Negro African American was not citizens by striking any reference to race from the naturalization statute. His efforts failed. So if his efforts failed, what that mean, Malik? What that mean, Nobles?
That means that it is no good.
Thank you. Because of racial animosity in Congress toward Asians and Native Americans. You slaves. The persistence of anti-Asian agitation through the 1900s kept the prerequisite laws at the forefront of national and international attention. No Negro is going to get reparations, never, with those names that identified as slavery. So why do we talk this black stuff today? I'm giving y'all law. The 1900s kept the prerequisites law at the forefront of national and even international attention. Efforts in San Francisco to segregate Japanese children, school children, for example, led to a crisis in relations with Japan. President Theodore Roosevelt to propose legislation granting Japanese immigrants the right to naturalize. It's so much.
Only to become free white persons under law.
Come on, Malik. Yes.
Oh, so they know to mark white persons under where it says race and ethnicity. They know to mark white persons.
Yes. I'll leave y'all with this. Consider A. Leon's Higgins Botham Jr.'s, I'm on page 5 and going to 6, classic study in the manner of color. This is a book. I think I sent it to y'all. Everything that we talk about with this, make a note of this so you can line it up. So you can start at boom, because history, you're going to line it up. You're going to start be able to trace yourself to all history books, religious books, no matter who wrote them. Whoever was in that time period that was the truth teller, they're going to tell you the truth. But in the classic study, in the matter of color, race and the American legal process, the colonial period, 1978. Look how that is. That's modern. And Derek Bell's equally classic case book, Race, Racism, and American Law, the 3rd edition. He wrote that in 1992. Both works provide exhaustive, meticulous research and invaluable studies of legal burdens imposed on blacks. So if nobody don't know this, y'all please write this down so I can make sure y'all get them, because I have them. Send a donation, I'll make sure you get all this. I got all the documents coming from the library I went to when I was in New York. When I just went home, I was in Detroit on Lafayette. I got all these documents coming to me. And I just, found the website and got the PDFs. But North America over the last few centuries, yet in both works, blacks and whites are treated as natural categories rather than as concepts created through social and at least partially through legal interaction between peoples, not initially racially defined in those terms. The discussions in both books of arrival of the first Africans in the colonial North America exemplify this tendency. Higgins Botham writes, and I quote, in 1619, when these first 20 blacks arrived in Jamestown. Y'all can find these documents. I sent that to you. When they arrived in Jamestown for food stuff. I got the documents for y'all. Obama brought this out too in one of his teachings. I got all the documents. They say that the first so-called slave came from Africa in 1619. If that's the case, what about the one that was already here? Think about what I'm saying. There was not yet a statutory process to establish, you heard me, fix the legal status of blacks. Think about this. For his part, Bell quotes the following passages from the Kerner Commission, and I quote, in colonial America, the first Negroes landed at Jamestown in August 1619. And my dad laughed and said, wait a minute. My dad said, wait a minute. If the first, in colonial America, if the first Negroes landed at Jamestown in America in August 1619, what about the one that was already here? Because 1619 to round out, that's what, about 400 years slavery per se? One more? Look at the timing, y'all. Do the math. The math. Within 40 years, Negroes have become a group apart, separated from the rest of the population by custom and law, treated as servants for life, forbidden to intermarry with whites, deprived of their African tradition, and dispersed among southern plantations. American Negroes lost tribal, regional, and family ties. These passages are striking because of the manner in which blacks, Negroes, and whites seem to exist as pre-legal givens, groups that interacted socially and legally, but that in all significant respects possess identities not dependent on their social and legal interaction. Listen, y'all, you had the free Negroes of Israel Hill, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, start thinking about this. I'm almost done. I'm setting a precedent. In Higginsbotham's study, those African men who were forced onto American shores in 1619 disembarked already possessed of a black identity. In Bell's casebook, the Africans who were brought to Jamestown only a year after the Pilgrims had landed at Plymouth Rock arrived already Negroes in a way that attributed to them the same identity as those passages later turned American Negroes. No different. Neither work seems to recognize that the very racial categories under examination, y'all, were largely created by the legal and social relations between the desperate peoples who found themselves for weal or woe of the northeastern shores of the Americans. I hope we know this, y'all. Remember, Negro, Black, and Colored African American.
Ellis Island.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to read all the way in. I want y'all to get the documents. That's why we ask for donations, for you can have it. This is a school. The last part I give, I'm on page 10, and I'm talking about white race consciousness. The racial prerequisite cases demonstrate that race is a legally construct. You got to understand this. The more than that, though they exemplify the construction of whiteness, they thus serve as a convenient point of departure for a discussion of white identity as it exists today, particularly regarding both the way in which those constructed as white conceptualize their racial identity, Noble Malik, and in terms of the content of that identity. In this way, the prerequisite cases also afford a basis for formulating arguments concerning the way whites ought to think about whiteness. And in short, the prerequisite cases offer a useful vehicle for exploring the form of white race consciousness does and should take. And I'm not going to talk about that. I want us to read it because I don't want to just tell everybody something and then you're not researching it because it's not going to mean nothing to you. What I'm saying, until we have an agenda, this is part of our agenda. All this stuff, what I'm reading, is part of our agenda. What? Our nationalization, the Declaration of Independence, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment, Manumission, Declaration of Human Rights. This is the agenda to be who we are. Some notes about white by law. What factually neutral rationales did the court use in its construction of racial demarcations, and subsequent allocations of privileges. Is law ever truly neutral in its application, even if its intent? Should law always be neutral? Hayes Lopez talks about the courts, the quest to determine the parameters of who qualified as white. Do you think this quest is over, or has it just changed in how it happens and why? See, number 3 is so important. That's what Miss Negroes got to understand. We got to understand this, that they done tricked us. When you look at black in the dictionary and the etymology, research and see what it is. You got to understand this.
Black
Islam?
Yeah, Islam.
And all this, as we close, I'm not gonna break none of the topics down because we've been an hour and a half. You can just hold up a trustee on false imprisonment. I want to just hold this up. So when Moors this is why you know Moors are out of line, because they clearly don't know law and civics. Obama told us, everybody, we a nation of laws. You can't arbitrarily explain law. You just can't make up law. You can't break the law and then try to use the law to defend yourself with that crazy Moorish genre garbage that these people are talking about. Like they think it's some Moorish law that's going to override the law, and it's not. I'm sorry. It ain't none. You're going to go to jail, and your feds will be stepped on, because if you got that feds on, then that means it's some wisdom that's under that feds. This feds can be a dunce hat to an idiot, to a sovereign citizen Negro. Point blank. This feds don't make you wise. This feds don't make you wise. This feds is just an outward appreciation of what's underneath it. We exhume that feds, and this feds can be a dunce hat, and you can get your feds stumped on if you an idiot out here operating. Islam?
Wow.
So, this is important, which a lot of Moors don't understand. A trustee on arrest and false imprisonment. These are case studies when you can talk about when Moors just making up stuff and talk about, oh, they were or they were false imprisoned or this, that, and the other. No, you wasn't. You was talking to a regular cop on the side of the road, a whole bunch of stuff that is meaningless. And the whole thing is to give your license and registration and proof of insurance in the bag. And if they say you were speeding, go to court. We don't break law. We don't do none of that. So I'm just going to talk about a couple topics in here that every Moor need to know. If you don't have it, we a library, we a school, we have this. You can't say you studying civics or your sheik or whoever teaching you civics and you don't know how to be civil in life and don't understand that we a nation of laws and you just want to break laws and have anarchy. I don't want to be around excuse my candor, no Negro that ain't down with laws. I don't. A Negro killed my brother. A Negro killed my homeboy MG. Negroes kill everybody that I know. Ain't no European don't have the power to do nothing to me. I'm going to see it coming. Only thing they have the power to do is if they got a job that they say, no, we don't want to hire you. So damn what? Got no power to stop me. Not my mission, not God's mission. Understand that. That's why I said we as a people need to take care of each other. We need to take care of our educators and our scholars. The one that's like one of my European colleagues out here in Arizona, and he was like, man, we need to take care of you like we supposed to take care of all our other scholars and they died poor and broke. But you an educator. You got to imagine if all these people that was alive today, I'll be able to add value to. They was at a place in history and some of them was biased with that, but I can add value to. Because if you're talking about doing things the right way lawfully and we in a constitution, I can bring things up. I'm not going to die poor and broke. It's for the people to build the tabernacle. It's for the people to support some natural. That's why I say what's important to us. This is important to Europeans and Albions. They study this. They don't care if no Negro got no dollars. You still a Negro. If you're not an intellectual, if you can't teach somebody something, if you don't have no wisdom, don't nobody care about nothing else, because they know a fool and his money is quickly departed. They know this. Look at all what's happening in entertainment and rap. A fool and his money is quickly departed. No disrespect. I don't want to talk about Young Dirk, but why we always got to go through tragedy to go through religion? The religion should keep us sharp so we don't fall into the trap. And then we run to religion where we almost in trouble and finna go to jail. Now we want to say the Lord. No, we got to be around people like myself and Malik, the ones that keep us on the level, and we do our mission. That's what our dollars is for. That's what our time is for. But in this introduction, I want us to be lawfully correct and do things lawfully, because we a nation in laws. So in this trustee on arrest and false imprisonment, I want y'all to listen on a couple topics, and I'll touch on a little topic in here, and then we'll be out. And I want y'all to add to this, because we in school. Some of us went to school 12 years. Other us went to advanced education like myself and got master's degree and PhDs and don't know this. So you should be able to take a couple time out your day. A lot of us went to church and gave and won't give and donate to us. We should support this ministry. Should nobody come to class and be dealing with me without supporting this ministry every time they come? Nobody should do that, because we don't do that to the clubs. We don't do that to the clubs. We don't do that to the liquor stores. We don't do that to nothing. That's meaningless. We should be better with this, because I'm giving something. I'm bringing things back to your remembrance. Things that I went in the thousands and hundred thousands for the debt and had to go and spend nights to get this, to put it on the platter for y'all, to have it, to teach your babies this, for us to do this together. So the definition of false imprisonment, that's the introduction. What constitutes false imprisonment? You need to know that. The length of time required, damages and liability, malicious prosecution. You got to know this. Arrest without warrant, the law of the land, summons, complaint, memorandum of law on arrest without warrant. You got to know all this. Like one of my muftis, one of my members hit me up about one of his cases. And I tell y'all, I be generous, because I don't have to take what nobody asks me about, no law or nothing, Brian or Maso, without being compensated. Because you can't talk to an attorney and get no legal advice without you giving them something, or on retainer. You can't go talk to nobody legally unless you go to the extension of Eastern Michigan to get some legal advice. But here it is. People hit me up about their cases, and I say, for education purposes only. I don't tell you not to get an attorney, and I say, bring this stuff up as a person that got your best interest in your case. As a legal advisor, education, give me a donation, but I don't get it. And what we do, we get corner porter attorneys to plead the lesser charges, and Negroes will pay. And people, and I go out my way to educate people on things, to say, research this, research the precedent law case, doc number, free information act, research the malpractice and all the different things when your attorney hides information, and then bring these things up. If you come to me beforehand, that's help. But after the fact, it's no help. I provide all that. Breach of the peace. I provide all that. And you can go to an attorney, and what would they say? They'd be like, well, who you talking to? He telling you the truth. So when people come to me for education, I should be compensated. Breach of peace and felony arrest. You should want to know this. How can you be arrested, breach of peace and felony arrest? What it is? What is breach of peace? Arrest for breach of peace. Threaten breach of peace. Of felony arrest. Want me to tell y'all how Morris get all caught up right now? And this is going to be a real quick one. We'll go to the rest. Want me to tell you how? Say how, Sheik. Malik, ask me. Say, what is the breach of peace and felony arrest? Ask me.
What is the breach of peace?
Okay, as a goofy Negro sovereign citizen, more with a fed zone. Anytime, and I'm saying it like this to the retarded sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron. Anytime you're retarded, bleepity bleep, get on the internet and act like you finna overthrow the government, you are breaching of the peace. Do you hear me? When you talk about you finna overthrow the government with your retarded bleep bleep bleep, that's a breach of peace. And your retarded bleep 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 done got your retarded bleep 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 on the internet. You a fool. You a fool. Because anything you say can and will be used against you for the court of law. What? Put the tape in like they did on what? Boys in the Hood. What was that? Or Minister Society. Put the tape in. You know you done effed up, don't you? You know you done effed up, Malik. You know you done effed up, don't you? For real. Put the tape in. I got you talking about we finna do this. That's the breach of the peace. Defense to unlawful arrest, burden of proof, good faith, and probable cause. Ignorance of law is no excuse in law. When I say there's no excuse of not knowing the law in a court of law. Ignorance of law. That's what most of these Negroes are. Ignorance of law. I don't care if you spew a whole bunch of cases that's out of the jurisdiction of what you doing. Boy, nobody care. You finna get the book through at you. Retardo, fardo. Guilt of party arrest. Immunity. When I tell Negroes, you got the right to remain silent, Malik. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You should not open your mouth to no lawyer, no judge, no police, unless you got immunity. Are y'all listening?
Yep.
The use of a warrant in arrest. I'm just touching on these topics. Warrant to be used in the possession of arresting officer. warrant to be shown upon arrest, invalid and unlawful warrants. You got to know this. Nobody's going to tell you. And if you got an attorney that works for the courts, he or she is not going to tell you this. He or she, you got to bring up, because this is certain prerequisites that they got to know. So there ain't no way your goofy ass pass no bar and you don't know what she's saying. You hear me?
Yep.
Ain't no way no attorney, no lawyer pass no bar and they don't know what the hell I'm saying. They're going to play retardo against you.
Mm-hmm.
Bringing arrested person before a magistrate, duty of officer, as a trespasser, abno initio. Detainment is not a decision of arresting officer. You hear me, Malik?
Yep.
We were talking about that earlier. One of my, right?
Yep.
And I be telling people about law. And y'all got it. Let me give y'all, see, this is important. It's on page 53. That's what I be telling people. I can help you. I can get you the right way, but I'm not going to do everything for free and you go get a court-appointed attorney because you're shaking like Don Knotts and you plead to a lesser charge. And I'm giving you precedent cases and I'm giving it to you. Listen, detainment is not a decision of arresting officer. Detainment is not a decision of arresting officer. This is what Negroes think they smart. Am I detained or I'm under arrest? Why the hell would you ask somebody that? That means your goofy ass don't know. Excuse my candor. Am I detained or am I under arrest? Am I free to go? I ain't finna ask nobody, am I detained? Am I free to go? I'm not finna ask you, am I detained? I'm giving you a choice. I ain't broke. Am I free to go, officer? Ask me, am I detained? I'm not finna ask you, am I under arrest? I ain't under arrest. I'm not asking you. I know I ain't under arrest.
Because you got to read me my rights if I'm under arrest.
It's some things that you got to know. If what I knew now, if I knew this years ago, a lot of things wouldn't have turned out the way they did. The basis of the well-established procedure and law of taking a person arrested directly to a judge or court is to avoid having the liberty of the citizen unjustly dealt with by extrajudicial acts of executive officers. We believe that the fundamental fairness to the accused requires that he should, with reasonable promptness, be taken before a magistrate in order to prevent the application of methods approaching what is commonly called the third degree. That's why you got a speedy trial. Fundamental fairness prohibits the secret inquisition in order to obtain evidence. Other reasons for the purpose of this rule requiring that the arrest accused be taken before a magistrate as quickly as possible is to make certain that the person arrested is advised by a judicial officer of his constitutional rights. As Malik just said, this is not a duty of the officer through the erroneous Miranda warning. See, the only reason such warnings are being used is because police, are not doing their duty in bringing the person arrested to a judicial officer, but instead are unlawfully taking them to a jail to have them booked. Ask any real prosecutor that know what I'm saying. I done this in academia. This ain't no made up stuff. This is what they know that you don't know. That's how they can get you, because no excuse of not knowing the law in the court of law. And if you don't know what I'm saying, got him. And then an attorney know, but he gonna play stupid. Got him. What? You finna plead to a lesser charge. Why? Because they want you to admit some form of guilt. How? To tie you up. It's about the money. The detainment of a person after he is arrested is a judicial question. A judicial officer must decide if there are grounds for holding the person arrested, or whether he must be further examined by trial, or if he or she is to be bailed and released. To allow the executive department such powers of decision-making is the epitome of despotism, despotism. Research what she telling y'all. I got a little bit more. In a suit for false imprisonment, this is a precedented case where several officers arrested the plaintiff. Because remember, anytime I speak, I'm going to give you precedent in law cases, doc number, and Free Information Act, so you can check, so you can't be made an example out of. Have y'all ever noticed only Negro, blacks, and colored, and African Americans only be made example out of in a court of law? Are y'all listening to me?
identify his property. That's why.
Thank you, Malik. They better start listening. You will hear a judge and say, oh, I'm going to make an example out you, young man. Make an example where you have 50,000 other cases in here, sucker, and this what you done. How you just going to make an example out of me and you have 50 other cases in here and you slapped them on the wrist and gave them probation? And you going to say, oh, got this brother in here from a impoverished community. I'm going to make an example out of the Negro. Huh?
That's unjust law.
Yes, Malik. You better know this. In a suit for false imprisonment where several officers arrested the plaintiff on grounds he committed a felony, listen to this. The Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts held that the officers had no right to decide to detain the plaintiff, to enable them to make a further investigation on the charge against him, to make a further investigation. If he ain't on arrest, then fine. Oh, well, we think you smell like marijuana. That ain't what you know. You can't, we go get a breathalyzer. You trying to hold the man and try to find some stuff. That's illegal. Y'all better listen to me. The further court declared that, and I quote, but having so arrested him, it was the officer's duty to take him before a magistrate who could determine whether or not there was ground to hold him. It was not for the arresting officers to settle that question. Authority cited the arresting officers is in no sense his guardian and can justify the arrest only by bringing the prisoner before the proper court. That either the prisoner may be liberated or that further proceedings may be instituted against him. I hope y'all listening. In a case where one was accused by another of stealing a watch and subsequently arrested and put in jail for, listen to this, y'all, for 1 hour and then released. The sheriff was found guilty. I hope y'all listening. The sheriff was found guilty of what? False imprisonment, as he failed to take the person arrested before a magistrate. A judge, you got to take him before a magistrate. I don't care if you was arrested for no hour and put me in the cell. You stopped me from my regular going to and fro. I hope y'all listening. Oh, it wasn't that, man. I just got to hear they stopped. They had to do their research. No. The Supreme Court of Indiana upheld the conviction, stating that, and I quote, the power of detaining a person arrested or restraining him of his liberty is not a matter within the discretion of the officer making the arrest. Man, this is precedent. This is why you got to know law. When I be telling my people, y'all going to court with the wrong fight. The court further stated that the sheriff cannot legally hold the person arrested in custody for a longer period of time than is reasonably necessary under all the circumstances of the case without possessing a proper warrant or taking him before a magistrate. If he does it is false imprisonment. That's why you got a certain time. You can't just be in no jail cell for no certain amount of time. They got a certain amount of hours to have you go to to court. And if not, they got to let you go. And if you don't know that and they hold you in jail for over a certain time and then say the next day they try to bring up charges and you don't know that, that's your fault.
That's false imprisonment, yeah?
Yes. I'm breaking it down. I don't give a damn if they hold you in jail for an hour. That's false imprisonment.
They got to bring you before a magistrate.
Yes. This is law. This ain't got nothing. I ain't saying no Negro acting crazy. I'm giving you law. Thus, where a sheriff had arrested 2 prisoners and detained them for 5 hours without making effort to take them before a magistrate, he was guilty of false imprisonment. In this case, the Supreme Court of Idaho said, the rule seems to be that an officer arresting a person on criminal process who omits to perform a duty required by law, such as taking the prisoner before a court, becomes liable for false imprisonment. I hope y'all catching this. I'll give y'all a little bit more. The law never allows an officer at his discretion to imprison the person arrested or detain him in a jail after arrest. We have no doubt that the exercise of the power of detention does not rest wholly with the officer making the arrest, and that he should, within a reasonable time. Now you got to know the reasonable time in your jurisdiction, because you can't bring up no other time in another state and then they say, well, in this state it's this time. Take the prisoner before a circuit criminal or other judicial court. In a case where the arrest is made under a warrant, the officer must take the prisoner without any unnecessary delay before the magistrate, issuing it in order that the party may have a speedy examination if it desires it. And in the case of an arrest without warrant, the duty is equally plain. And for the same reason, to take the arrest party before some officer who can take such proof as may be afforded. Remember, executive officers or clerks are not to determine if a person arrested is to be held or released upon bail or fixed amount of bail, since the power to do so is judicial. So I want y'all to know that little bit. The next is distortion of fundamental law. You got due process. You got to know what due process is, and when due process is neglected, you got to know this. I don't have time to break it all down. The Fourth Amendment argument, the highway traffic laws, resisting arrest, handcuffing. If you're not and that's so prophetic. Handcuffing. That's another form of being detained, which we don't know. Oh, they just put me in handcuffs. Why? I can have a dilemma of handcuffs. Why are you in handcuffs? You say what?
They say, I always say, for my safety and your safety.
But that's BS. But because we don't know the law. See, they can say anything because they know you don't know. And then, but if you know the law, you should say that again for the record. And then you bring it up when you go to the court. When you show up, you defend yourself. They stick a fork in them. You got to know this. I'm giving you the information. Page 69, handcuffing. The people's lack. Once again, I said we the people. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, that's your fault. This ain't got nothing to do with black or white. Understand that. The people's lack of understanding of the law or lack of concern of it has allowed government to establish many unlawful and oppressive procedures in making arrests. These are unlawful procedures in making arrests. The practice of physical restraint by handcuffing, leg irons, rope, straitjackets, and the like has historically been limited to those who had committed the most severe crimes, such as felonies or exhibited a violent temperament. In Book 51 of the lawyer's reports, annotated, and I sent y'all another document of that about the jailhouse attorneys and things from the Lawyers Guild. Didn't I send y'all that? I sent y'all that in an email today. Research, it says, of something for prisoners, the Lawyers Guild, from the lawyers. I sent y'all this. I sent y'all that in a document today. Somebody tell me the title of it as I'm continuing. The lawyer's report annotated, page 216, is listed several cases which show that the rule pertaining to handcuffing procedures must depend upon circumstances of each particular case. Did somebody know the document that I sent earlier?
Jailhouse lawyer.
Thank you. And what does it say, Noble Brian? What does the title of the whole thing say on the cover? This stuff is important. I'm giving y'all stuff. I'm giving y'all stuff that people wish they had. It say something. It's for prisoners and all that. Anybody that know this, for prisoners too, and free people. For free and slaves, per se. So I finished until somebody get it. In citing an older English case, it was held that the right to handcuff one in custody may exist by reason of violence of language or contact of that person. However, there cannot be any general rule that will justify a constable in restoring to the extreme measure of handcuffing a person in custody for a misdemeanor to a felon and marching them through the public streets from the police station to the magistrate office. That's embarrassment. Did somebody know the title of that document yet?
So it reads the Jailhouse Lawyer's Handbook, how to bring a federal lawsuit to challenge violations of your rights in prison.
By who? By the Lawyers Guild?
Rights and the National Lawyers Guild.
By the National Lawyers Guild. This ain't no house prisoners. This is what I be telling people. I've studied this. I know this in my brain. I know habeas corpus. I know quid pro quo. I know that all the Chicago Law Review. This is what I'm well versed in. One who is accused of a guilty of a misdemeanor cannot be lawfully handcuffed while in the custody of an officer. I hope y'all know that. And in some cases, the prohibition extends to a felon. Usually handcuffing is justified only where one has attempted escape or has exercised violence towards the officer. So you got to look up the precedent cases in your state to see if that's allowed to handcuff. If not, you got to bring this up. But they're not going to bring it up. You do. But a constable cannot justify handcuffing a prisoner unless he has attempted to escape or unless it is necessary in order to prevent his doing so. There thus can be no general law which requires or allows the handcuffing of everyone arrested, as is the rule police now follow. That ain't no rule. Like Malik said, I'm handcuffing you for my safety. That ain't no rule. That's a made-up genre. That's a made-up genre when they say that I'm handcuffing you for yours and my safety. What safety? I ain't violent. I ain't doing nothing handcuffing me for what? Only prisoners get handcuffed. I'm giving you the precedent in law. It don't matter how you feel about the law. The law is the law. That's what we tell people, well, I'm going to do this because it's the nice thing to do. I don't do nothing nice. I do things pertaining to the law. In the English case of Osborne versus Vitch, Foster, and Finn, Representative 317, where a lawful arrest was made for a misdemeanor, it was held that the handcuffing was utterly unlawful. The handcuffing was unlawful when the person handcuffed sued the officer. A verdict was rendered for the plaintiff. See, when you bring up these charges, but you don't know, you go in there all handcuffed, you ain't did nothing, a misdemeanor, you don't know this, so it ain't nothing you can bring up. They be hoping you don't know nothing. But when you got a tribal leader like myself, when you got an educator like they already know who I am coming in the door. They already know you got your legal advisor. They already know they got somebody defending you in your best interest. That's what I be telling people. But when something happens, you need me on your team. Why? Because I know what I'm talking about. You accuse me of something and it's not the other, especially I feel I'm being unjustly accused, we going to court. You already accusing me of something, we going to court. We going to court. I know how to play this. And thus the unwarranted use of handcuffs is regarded as an assault and battery. And the person doing the handcuffing can be sued for the trespass. That's why you hit those cops. You hit a certain thing on them to where you sue them. It's so much that we got to know, y'all. I want us to know this. I just have to make that emphasis because I want to end it with this: limitations upon arrest, and then conclusion and dependence. Look at all this history in here. So you got a definition of what a false and imprisonment mean. It gives you what is life, what is liberty, the lawful and unlawful means by which government acts is depriving an individual of his liberty. This is what we got to know as misnomer black people. This is what this is about. This science is about the lawful and unlawful means by which government acts in depriving an individual. You should understand that you're an individual, not Negro, black, and colored, of his liberty. History teaches that deprivation, y'all, of liberty is more often arbitrary and unlawful than it's otherwise. At least this is always the tendency of those who hold executive power. Daniel Webster once stated this problem in these words: the contest for ages has been to rescue liberty from the grasp of the executive power. Liberty is taken away or deprived most commonly by arrest and imprisonment. It's too much for me to talk about, but I'm just giving y'all topics. Y'all need this. What constitutes false imprisonment? False imprisonment consists of any type of unlawful restraint. This, as I'm going to close. False imprisonment consists of any type of unlawful restraint or interference with the personal liberty of individual, of your personal liberty. It basically involved any unlawful violation of liberty of another. The ancient English legal scholar Henry D. Bracton, 1200 to 1265, tells us that false imprisonment is one of the oldest violations of rights known. What rights? Human rights. But Negroes, African Americans don't have human rights. They only got civil rights, what somebody gave them. That's why we're not doing this. Forcefully to deprive a man of freedom to go wherever so he may is clearly a trespass. False imprisonment was indeed one of the first trespasses recognized by the common law. And I rest my case. If there are any questions, y'all got to have this. This is very important for my brothers and sisters. Any questions? Any questions?
No questions, just gratitude.
We touched on some important documents today. We had a great conversation about agendas and what is agenda and what's not agenda and what we may think is an agenda. But remember, agenda is what a group of people agree on, like the LBGT and the so-called European Jews. They have an agenda that's agreed upon. And if those things are not brought to fruition, then they're gonna come and say, okay, man, this hasn't happened. Hey, what's up? We don't have an agenda because according to science and law, black means death. We as the people have to understand who we are first, and then come back to the table and cast in our ballots as free people. Understanding that we are American, understanding that we Moors on paper with one nationality and many culture. Then we can start talking about some things. But remember, the Dred Scott Law was never abolished. Remember this. I done broke it down. Why? Because Negro, blacks, and color was always going to be slave. I just broke this down. This should be simple, and I haven't even went deep in this. Any questions?
Nope.
It's a document that I share with my brothers, Life, Liberty, and Property by Charles A. Wiseman. That document costs about $4,000. I got it right here to teach my people. We have to be armed, like the Bible says, fully armed with knowledge and wisdom. That's what the Bible says. We must what? Seek what? Wisdom and knowledge, Sophia. And when we seek that, we operate in the parameters of the law. We operate together, and we can arbitrarily be explained as a people. And you can't be false imprisonment. And no one could just arbitrarily explain the law to you. That's what we need. We need this conversation. We need this cipher, a safe place. So I give y'all gratitude, all nobles, and gratitude for the conversation. Lamarck, Malik, Alonzo, all my muftis. And if anybody got anything they want to add before we close, if anything they want to add or anything about anything, now is the time. If anybody got anything they want to ask or anything, this is the time.
Just once again, gratitude, much gratitude.
I give gratitude to all y'all. I give gratitude. Nationality is always the order of the day, and we a nation in laws, and we must be in the affairs of men. That's what the prophets say. We got to be in the affairs of man and get back into the nations and the affairs of the world. How are we going to do that if we don't do things lawfully and understand how to do things? We're not just hiding from things. We do things the right way. We are a people. We are a people. And we got to understand politics. We don't run from politics. We don't run from spirituality. We face it headstrong because we all up in it. And once you have a clear understanding of what I'm saying, we operate how? Upright, like the law's already said. Remember, there's no excuse of not knowing the law in a court of law. We got to understand this. And so with that, I digress. Islam, amen. Gratitude for everybody that took time out y'all day. If anybody on here don't have the documents, y'all hit me up. I'll give them to y'all. My members, if y'all don't have them, y'all know how to do small donations. Y'all get the documents. I want you to have this. And then we start teaching our people from love. We can start having these conversations with these misnomer black people that talking that, oh, they down for reparations and reparations now. And they call themselves black this and it's black this. Well, we down with reparations, but we know misnomer black people is not going to get none. And if reparations is wrapped up in law, we have to do things lawfully. We have to. And we can't play with this. It's only one way to do it. And I done broke it down. So until then, man, do we got any questions? Nobody got anything. I don't want to get off here and we don't fulfill what we have to ask. For real. And if anybody that hit me up and asked me for advice and things, I will hope I'll be compensated. And I'm talking to my people too. When a person called me out of my sleep and they asked me a million questions and they want answers, I hope it's on your heart to say, man, I'm asking this man questions. I know he got to research and do this. I hope I'm compensated for my time, just like we'll do anybody else. If people want answers that they can research, that's precedented. That's what I am. So can we get our Moorish American prayer? Do anybody got our benediction and we out of here?
Islam and Islam. Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is our protector, our guide, and our salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Mogadru Ali. Shalom Malakim, Ayah Ash'ayah, Hotel, Islam, Amen. Peace, 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 peace. Now for our tales and benediction. May the benediction of Allah be upon thee and thine always, as thou shouldst strive to be a credit to Allah. Make haste to bestow thine acts of love upon thy brethren, and do the best to shun thine evil ones. Remember to take succor of the breast of knowledge, wisdom, fortitude, charity, love, and all standing, that you might nourish the souls of men. Let the truth be the shield in the manifest battles of falsehood. Know that Moors need not to pick the locks to the gates of paradise by means of petty or criminal theft. For behold, the key to salvation already rests within thine own hands. And yes, even though a portion of our nature is weakness, instability, and inconsistency, there is still a greater part of our nature that is divine. May Allah protect thee, guide thee, preserve thee, lengthen thy age, and give thee everlasting peace. Islam, Shalom Alakim, Amen. Peace, 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 peace,
peace. Gratitude for your time. And if anybody need any of those documents, y'all get with me. Inbox me, Nobles and Muftis, and y'all can get them. I love y'all, man. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love, tribe. Take us out, B.
Yes, sir.
With a Z.
Once again, this broadcast has been brought to you by mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z, where reading funds the mental. Also brought to you by bindedbooks.com, where treasures are bound. Be sure to get all of your herbs and your teas at herbsofmayat.com. Mayat Sons, Teas and Tea, divinely prepared. Also, be sure to check out all of the musical stylings by Brian Hicks Bay at bhbaymusic.com. For your everyday items and your religious regalia, be sure to check out mooreshaberdasher.com. And for that everyday e-special Moors drip, check out moresachi.com. And all of these companies are powered by ALO Design Pro. Design your online business strategy today.
I'm a spirit speaking, truth seeking, heart reaching, knowledge leaking, seeds sowing, harvest reaping, man legal me. I have yet to leave, I'm still breathing, to quit, I have no reason. I must sleep, but I be trying to live my dreams. I cannot even act if it's all easy. Either you gon' do it or you don't really. It ain't no in between, baby. You can ask the sun, it's an everyday thing. Consistency in your routine is how you bring reality. Working like a slave, that's how I made this masterpiece. Living like a god, I lay at night, I rest in peace. They remember me, but I am not around.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Peace, peace, peace.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace and love, tribe.